right. Check the sound. Good. Sound is functioning wonderfully. And just pop this down here. Alright, we'll get started in just a second. Alright, there we go. Got everything set now. Colors, paintbrush, water, napkin. Alright, we'll go ahead and get started. So today I'm painting a dire wolf, one of the new ones from the Soulblight Gravelord release, wave 2 of that release. Yeah, so we're going to do a light colored scheme for this one, for this unit. So I'm going to start off with Reikland Flesh Shade. And this I'm just going to put over the fur that is modeled on the wolf here. So all this stuff in here, his tail, and then any little bits that are hanging out anywhere. This is going to give us sort of a reddish undertone to the fur. Kind of like a red wolf, I guess. I don't know if they're actually called red wolves, but I think they are. But, you know, the ones that are sort of have a yellowish, reddish, orangish color to their fur. That's what we're going for here. So I'm just going to get this all over that. And then we've got some little tufts of hair that they modeled here. We're just going to get those roughly like that. There we go. And then all the fur underneath here. And then the tail, of course. And we're going to do this with mostly contrast paint, but a little bit of layer paint later on. But the contrast paint will blend really nicely on this model and help us get a good, solid overall look to the miniature. Like all the colors are meant to be, basically. So we'll get the tail here. And then all these little individual tufts on this side. And if you go over a little bit on these, not a big deal. It's, like I said, we're gonna blend it all together, so just so that wherever there's fur showing, we can see a little bit of that color, and it's all good. And just making sure to cover the primer. And as you can see, this is just Reikland Flesh Shade, just a wash, but even it covers over the Wraithbone primer just fine. Just as if it were a contrast paint, just not as pigmented as the rest of them. So now we're going to take Skeleton Horde, which is our lightest contrast paint, and we're just going to cover the skin in this color. And we're going to try to apply it lightly. We don't want it too heavy on this skin. And we're trying to avoid the fur and the muscle and guts that are underneath in these holes. But if we hit them a little bit, it's not the end of the world. But we would like to avoid them just so we don't drown out that color. So just make sure to get all the way down to the feet. And to get the reverse here. And then all the skin in here. Like I said, trying to avoid the other colors, but if they mix in, it's okay. And we want to try to avoid the the muscles and stuff showing through, just so that it's easier to pick them out when we paint them, but they should be relatively easy to pick out still, so it's not a major concern. We'll just make sure our contrast paint settles really nicely in here so you can see all those ribs showing through the skin there. A lot of these dire wolves have their ribs poking through because they're missing skin in that area, but this one doesn't. Oh, it does a tiny bit right there. But so we just want to make sure that we accentuate as much detail as the sculptor deems fit to give us. So just make sure to cover the skin completely. Make sure to get all these legs maybe a little too thick back here, and just grab some back out. And then the head here. The head probably has some bone showing. Yeah, I think most of this head is bone, actually. Got some skin maybe there. Otherwise it's bone, so we'll just put that in there so that we don't leave any primer showing. And we'll be all set. So then we're going to do just the detail on this guy that's unique to him, which is the crow pulling out some of his guts. For that, we're just going to use Black Templar, first of all. Make sure he's nice and colored. And then we're going to pull out our old friend the hairdryer. Get this all nice and dry, and then we'll move on to the color that's gonna kind of connect all these colors, which will be Apothecary White. Make sure he's all there. We go. All right. So, like I said, I'll grab the hairdryer. We'll just mute the stream so that everyone isn't deafened by the thing, and as soon as he's dry, we'll be ready to continue. Alright, wonderful. So he's all dry, at least dry enough for what we're going to do now. And we're going to use some Apothecary White, and we're just going to put this all over him. And he's not 100% dry in the tail, in the mane, as I call it, but since we were wanting to blend this Apothecary White into the rest of the body anyway, that's okay. So I'm just covering the entire body with this, making sure it doesn't pool too much in any one spot, and not getting it on the crow if possible. This will just dull everything down, make it a little more strange looking, basically, since it is an undead wolf. Things this pale typically aren't living. So we'll just cover that all. And then we'll go back to our friend the hairdryer. Actually, we'll go back to our friend the hairdryer and then get this all dried or close to dry. And then move on. So the next step is going to be the guts. I'm putting this on pretty thin though, so this should dry relatively quickly. So yeah, I'm going to just mute to do that, and we'll be right back. Alright, again, dry enough for our purposes. So now we're going to take some Blood Angel's Red, and basically everywhere that skin has peeled away, or has been torn away, or whatever, we're going to put this in. So, on these muscles here, and even if there's only bone showing through, we're going to put this in anyway. So we'll then come back and highlight the bone, but it'll give us a nice red underneath. That will be the underlying tendon structure and muscle structure and all that. Just being careful to not get too much of this on the skin. We are going to come back and highlight the skin around these so that they look a little more messed up. But we don't want too much of this straight up red on there. So just very carefully adding this in. And we can do the entrails while we're here that are hanging out. This is one of the more unique dogs in this set. He's got these entrails hanging down and a crow on his back ripping some tendons out. So he's got all sorts of problems. But I suppose when you're an undead minion, these problems are not as severe as perhaps it would be for one of us. Again, just being careful when we put this stuff in here. We don't want to get too much on the skin color. Alright, and then we've up here, I think most of this is just torn away skin and stuff, but I'm going to paint it red just so we have some red up there. We will paint some more red in later, but then I'm going to paint in here where his spine is exposed. Just like this. And just come a little bit out from that bone. There we go. And then do the same thing up here, especially where this crow has ripped some out. Just try not to get any red on the crow itself. And then he's got some more spine here. There we go. Alright, then turn him over, and then he's got some more exposed musculature back here. Right in there. Good. And then we've just got a little bit up here, and we're good to go. We can move on to highlighting the bones. What's going on this leg? Some of the legs can be a little hard to tell what's skin and what's muscle and what's bone and stuff. I think I did that correctly though. And we're going to paint this like it's torn out skin there. Alright, so there's our red all done. Just going to grab this. There we go. Alright, so there's our red all done. So now we can go to highlighting the bone. And for that, we're going to use some Rakarth flesh. And we're going to do just that, highlight the bone. We're going to start on the side we started the red on so that our red is dry. And then just going to come in like this. And just paint only the bone. And as you can see, it's leaving the red in there, which is absolutely fine. We want to be able to see that these are bones, but also that there's blood and guts behind them. We've got this leg bone back here. That'll do. Oh, his ribs right here. We'll paint those in. I Excellent. Go to the other side. Got a bone right here. It looks like a bone right here. It could be a muscle, but I'll just paint it in bone, give us some more contrast there. There we go. Down there. Alright, and then it's just his skull. So let's paint all that. And this guy has quite a bit of skull, like I mentioned earlier. This guy doesn't even have eyeballs. Some of them have skull exposed, but they still have some meat left in the eye socket. This guy is just nothing. Nothing at all. No tongue either. Some of them have tongues. This guy is just very, very rotten. Make sure to get the whole jawbone here. And then we'll do the the claws as well. Just touch the ends of these. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Alright, excellent. So just a couple colors left here, to be honest. We're going to go to some Agrax Earthshade now. And we're just going to put this in all of our exposed skin areas. So in here with the muscle and bone. In here with just the plain muscle. Make sure it doesn't pool too much in there. Just pull that back out. It's a little too much. And this is just to darken it up in there a little bit, maybe for some clotting, maybe just some more contrast. Whatever. Just to give it a little more, sell it a little bit more. Again, I will mention, as I always do, that we're going for battle ready here. Nothing fancy. Just good enough for the table. I'm also going to put this on the crow. Give the crow a little more life. Things are rarely just pure black in real life, so that brown will shift it just enough that it will look more realistic. Pop those in there like that. And if a little bit of this gets up on the skin, that's fine, because we're going to come back, and as soon as we're done with this color, we're going to add some bruising and decay around on the skin. So now we'll just get this on the skull here. Make sure to get in the eye sockets so we show that they're really dark, because there's nothing in there. They're just pits. Wonderful. And take a little bit of that back off. There we go. Alright. So now we're going to take some Magos Purple. It's not Magos Purple. Here's Magos Purple. Magos Purple. And everywhere that we have this exposed skin, we're just going to go around it with this. So around here like this. And onto that tear. Around here. And this doesn't have to be super clean. It can be messy. Just to show that the skin is reddened or decayed or something around these holes here. Let's go down there. Maybe a little too much down there, so we'll just pull some of that back off. We don't want it to appear completely purple, just a little, just a little messed up. That's all. Make sure to get some up here, where that is. And to the other side. Excellent. And around there. Just blend that down nicely up there. Got a nice blend there. And just coming down all of here. This is kind of one of the focus spots where the spine is sticking through, so we want to make sure to get a good amount of purple in there and come down here a little bit more. And you can't really see any skin where these entrails are torn out, unfortunately, but that'll have to do. And I realized I forgot to do the Agrax Earthshade on the claws, so we'll do that. Just really quick. And as with a lot of the things I paint on stream, unfortunately we won't have time for the base, because I don't want to wait for the texture paint to dry, but I'll show you what a base looks like when it's all done. And so the last thing we're going to do is take our Blood Angels Red again, and where the skin or fur connects to the bone here, we're just going to go in. I shouldn't have said the last thing, second to last thing. Just going to go in around where the skin connects to the bone and give us a nice little bloody line, as if that fresh peel of skin has started to bleed. There we go. Just like that. And then the last thing we do before I will show you the base is we take some blood for the blood god, and we'll just put a little bit on the teeth here, just up here along the edge of the teeth. Our wash is still a little wet on there, but it's okay. This will mix in just fine. The thing to want to avoid when putting this on is that we don't want it to look like lipstick, so if it goes on too much, you just pull it back off a little bit. It takes a long time to dry, so you can pull it off very easily. I'm just going to get some in his mouth there. There you go. And so there you go. Now we have some blood in his mouth, and this will dry shiny, so it'll look like blood. And then we're just going to come in here and put a little bit on these entrails. We're going to put a little bit in these larger sections right along here, in between the ribs here, definitely on what the crow's pulling up. And then again in some of these bigger sections along the entrails, maybe over here on the side of the mouth actually. There we go. And this last big section right here, put some in there. So there you go. There's our completed direwolf, in quotes, because obviously the base is not done. But we'll pull out one I did earlier, cooking show it. And there you can see the base. It's just, we start with some Armageddon dust. Then we apply Gore-Grunta fur, wherever it may be. Gore-Grunta fur over the whole thing. We then dry brush that with some Gorthor brown. And then we use 4 sets of tufts. Green ones in this case, because these are so with some green tufts. Looking good. Keep up the good work. Thanks for these. Hey, thanks for watching. But yeah, so yeah, green tufts over that base, and then we're all set and ready to go. So there you can see, this guy isn't quite dry, but you can see how the purple we add really helps the bruising look and helps him look like he's actually not doing so well, not just a living guy with some cuts in him, but actually dead. And the blood, you can see, dries shiny, so we get these patches that look maybe like they're wet, actively bleeding, as opposed to just scabbed over. And yeah, so yeah, that'll do it. Thank you everybody for watching. There'll be a stream on Wednesday, although I don't know what I'm going to be painting, but there will be one. And then Thursday, I get a hold of Kragnos, hoping to have the tutorial video for him out on Saturday, on release day. And then Croak is coming at some point after that. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a video or stream him. Probably a video, because streaming him seems like it would be a lot. But we'll see. But yeah, lots of good stuff coming up. Obviously, Dominion. There'll be lots of Dominion on stream. I'm getting at least 3 copies of it, so we'll experiment with some different paint schemes and paint styles and all sorts of stuff with that. Maybe speed paint a box, maybe 24 hours. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But in any event, thank you everybody for watching.